needs editing software? Like, what even is editing software? I have no idea. I'm just oh boy, did I press play? It's playing, okay. Hello, single Cheerio watching this. My name is Scrape, and today, once again, without notes, I'm going to be ranting. Not really ranting per se, more so sharing my thoughts, opinions, and feelings to the internet that never watches my videos anyway. But first, I wanted to do something a little different. I should have had this pulled up first, but today I want to do something a little different. I said that. I am going to showcase the comments of the episode, which is basically just a comment that I found particularly amusing and or funny and or I liked it. That's really all it is. If I can find it, that'd be great. YouTube is experiencing issues. Love that. Comments. Here we go. Really should have prepared this earlier, but today's favorite comment is this beautiful thing. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, if you've read I just got back from work and my brain is mush, so forgive me if this is all over the place. This is a moment of the whim. Wow, I'm already failing. This is a spur of the moment video that I wanted to make while I'm awake. Live, awake, alert, enthusiastic, you know? I just got back from work, so, and I'm finally drawing. Gotta love that. This is a video about my roleplay pet peeves. Or, I guess, things that happen when I'm roleplaying that either confuse me or are a little annoying to me. Of course, I'm not calling anyone specifically out. This is just stuff that I've discovered or figured out over the past few years of me roleplaying. And yes, I roleplay, whether it be LARPing, live action roleplaying, for those plebes in the audience. I'm not calling you a plebe single person watching, I'm just being a dumbass. Whether it be LARPing or text roleplaying, for those of you who don't know, my, one of my biggest projects going on, well, a few of them actually, from Second Leaf to 12 Realms started out as roleplays. Both have ceased to be happening. Well, Second Leaf for the moment has ceased to be happening. I've only really kept in touch with one of the people that was a part of it. Looking at you, Shade. Lucarian. Lucas? I think her name is Lucas. You. Love ya. And Avery. I think their name was Avery. I don't want to drop their old name because I feel bad about that, but I've fallen out of touch with most of the other people in it. Which is really just me, them, Quinn, and Lucarian. Luca. Him. But, this is a video about my roleplay pet peeves and stuff that I've experienced during my roleplays. And a few story times, I guess. Because this is just all over the place. Who needs a strict topic when you've got no notes and a mind like a bowl of gelatin? Let's get started. First, I just want to address the art going on in the background. This is my updated Dakimakura design for my character Krona, who is from 12 Realms. He's an adorable being and I love him. And the music in the background is an Animal Crossing mix that I listen to when I fall asleep, and I just find it relaxing. So I put that on in the background while I may or may not get a little heated. Oh, anatomy is fun. Anyway, roleplay pet peeves. Let's finally get this video started after 5 minutes of me rambling on about absolutely nothing. I probably should have made notes. Starting off, I'm just going to pick something out of thin air. And this isn't in any particular order, because of course I don't have notes. So I can't really put it in any particular order, because I don't have notes to put it in said order. But that's okay. Because people don't come here for quality. They come here to call me stupid. Anyway, the first one that comes to mind is something that happened a while back while I was still mostly on Wattpad. Wattpad? I call it Wattpad. Fight me. But, it happened while I was on Wattpad. And I got a lot of roleplay requests while I was on Wattpad, mostly for Skylanders. But this one caught me a little off guard. It was, a random guy I'd never talked to before slid into my DMs and was like, hey, you're roleplay. I'm like, yeah. Now, keep in mind, I'm tiny child at this time. Like, tiny baby boy. So, and I don't actually know if he was a guy or a girl or who, but today, I was so uncomfortable I ended up deleting the chat afterwards, because I was like, oh boy, I don't know what's happening. But, there's this guy. They slid into my GMs and was like, hey, so I hear you're open for roleplay. I'm like, yeah, I mostly do, Skylanders related things. And I was like, if you have an idea for a plotline or anything, feel free to throw it in here and I can, see if I'm up to it or not right now. Because at the time I was going through a lot of stuff, so it's kind of like, I'm open, but also mostly with people I know, so like if you have an interesting plot line, I can see if I wanna, but But so that wasn't the type of roleplay he was thinking about. I don't know how to put this into words, but he responded with, oh, I don't have a plot line. I was just thinking you could perhaps be like a nurse or something and tickle me. I was like, what? Confusion? And of course, this isn't like the exact word for word chat log, because I deleted that. Because embarrassed little baby boy was like, I don't know what's happening. I'm like, well, I usually do fandom-themed roleplays with like storylines and stuff. And if you don't have a storyline, well, I can try to come up with something. He's like, no, I don't want a storyline. Actually, I think it started with him asking if I liked tickling. I was a little confused about it. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, sir, madame. A non-gendered word for person, which is slightly fancy, but yeah, that was an incident that happened. And I was a tiny baby boy. I'm still a tiny baby boy. I literally just grew an age, and I'm still a tiny baby boy, honestly. But, so basically, the moral of the story, don't slide into random people's DMs and ask them to do fetishy stuff unless you know them already. Cause like, smut roleplay, if you're of age and you're comfortable with it, of course, go right ahead. As long as you're able to trust the other person. Don't just do it with someone that you just immediately met and it's like, hey, tickle me. So people just randomly sliding fetishes into roleplay without like prior consent or knowledge about the other person even is a big no-no in my book. Another thing, a completely different tangent, is switching of points of view. Where it's like, you're trying to roleplay with someone and at one point they're going from the perspective of their character like, I sat down and ate my sandwich, or I decided to do this, which then happened to do that. But then in the next comment you add to the chain, it's like, insert character name here decided to walk over to the window and stare out at the blazing suns. It's like, and also, for some reason, this is just personal preference of mine. It's not really annoying per se, but I don't like it when people roleplay first person. Especially if there's, like, other people in the roleplay. Like, first person books have never been my... I just realized this has been sitting here for, like, a while here. Give me a moment. There we go. But, like, first-person books have never been my forte, and, like, I don't really like reading them. I think one of the only first-person books I've ever read was Hunger Games, and even that threw me off, because it was first-person and, like, present tense, so it was a little confusing. But, I don't mind present tense, though if you switch between tenses, that's another thing that I dislike. It's like, so switching between tenses and switching between perspectives is something that I hit the counter. Something I really don't like. I mean, I can put up with it if it's seldom and doesn't really happen. And if I like role-playing with you, I'll be like, hey, I can look past this. It's okay. I might, like, it might make it a little harder for me to respond, but it's also like, yeah. But, like, there's this one time, it was like, from the perspective, oh, okay. How do I word this? So, there's one person that wanted to roleplay Skylanders with me, with their OC, which was a Doom Raider. But, like, it was the Magic Doom Raider, because they didn't have one of those. And I was being Chaos. And Cassandra, I guess. But, it started from... Oh, that reminds me of another story. But, so it started off with, Cassandra and Golden Queen having dinner together. And then just suddenly... And, like, okay, another thing I dislike is when plot points just happen for no good reason. Like, sometimes I can understand if you're trying to jazz up the storyline or something like that, but if you talk about it with the person first, then that's all good. But, when, like, you're just starting out, you're trying to set up the characters and their dynamics and everything, and then suddenly, in the case of this, like, Golden Queen gets up and is like, we have to go feed the dog or something, and it's like, okay, it's like, Cassandra, I have to show you something. And it's like, oh, okay, I thought we were having a nice dinner. Especially when it's, like, unnaturally so. Like, I can understand writing people is difficult. Writing people is so freaking difficult. Like, natural dialogue is one of the things I have the hardest time with. But, when you just automatically switch it to, like, at one moment they're having dinner and they're having a decent conversation, and the next it's like, oh, I have to show you this thing. Keep it a secret. Chaos isn't allowed to see you. Oh. And it's like, also one of those things where it's like, oh boy. And then it was interesting because that's also where the whole perspective thing comes in. Is the moment the main character that person was playing was introduced, it switched from being like Golden Queen's perspective, but third person Golden Queen perspective, to first person Magic Doom Raider perspective, which threw me off a little bit. And I was also like, the way they were reacting to the character was very unnatural, and like they had her in a cage, which was strange because she was part of the Doom Raiders, so why were you doing that? And like typical, like tragic teenager character backstory, which of course nothing against those types of backstories. I do them myself. Like the child I'm drawing on screen currently, his backstory is, whoa boy, he has issues. And tragic backstories, when done right, make for very compelling characters. And of course I'm not saying like don't have that phase in your life. Like, do have that phase in your life. Everyone has that phase in their life where they create characters that are quote-unquote Mary Sue's with the weird backstories and the, oh, everyone hates me and I hate myself and all that fun stuff. But, it's just, again, a pet peeve of mine when the character dynamics aren't believable, especially for the time that they're set in. Like, if the characters are just meeting each other, they aren't gonna fall in love immediately. Like, things have to develop at a decent pace, and I don't know if I'm the only one that roleplays like that. Like, I don't roleplay real time, but I like roleplaying with a decent time frame, and like time skips of course are gonna happen. Like, in one of the roleplays I'm doing right now, we've had many time skips because some stuff we LARP and then other stuff we do text-based, and it gets confusing trying to go back and forth. But, yeah, some of that. Okay, before I get to the other story I was thinking about before, I want to talk about diving into a roleplay with the intent of shipping your character with another one. That in itself isn't necessarily a pet peeve of mine. Like, I love shipping. There have been so many roleplays I've done where I play Chaos and I ship it with someone else's OC, because why the frick not? Like, I know the whole debate on canon x OC nonsense. Like, let people have their fun, of course. But it's also, for me, it needs to be believable. It needs to develop naturally. Like, one of the ones I was doing was, and this is before we found out Chaos was Elon's son. So, just prefixing, I don't support incest or whatever, but I was playing Chaos, and the other person on Wattpad was playing Eon's daughter, which was an OC that they had created themselves. And I've done a few art of them together because I just really liked that ship, and it was really cute, and they ended up having kids together, and it was adorable because they were just cute, and the ship in that case made sense. I do have to say, the other person made it move a little fast for my liking, but the development and character thing still made sense. It was a whole thing where they were forced into they were forced to marry each other for the good of Skylands, and like, Cassandra and Eon had this whole treaty going on in order to reunite the dark and the light, and it was fun. Like, and of course, some plots don't need to be believable, and of course, if you're playing a canon character, it's not going to be always in character. Like, no one can get the characters right exactly like the canon does. Sometimes not even the canon gets the characters right. I'm looking at you, MCU, but especially when dealing with multiple writers. But that's another thing. When oof, boy. When characters being shipped together, the romance needs to make sense. It can't seem forced. And of course, like, sometimes to some people it might seem forced and to others it doesn't, but Another good example of a ship that I did that that's also currently going on in the roleplay I'm doing is it's the personification of the Time Stone with the personification of the Power Stone. Their names are Leighton and V. I'm playing Leighton and my friend's playing V. And Leighton is like this neat freak, sort of like... V calls him a dominatrix, because, duh. He's based off of 2012 Loki, because that's the person that had the most influence on the Tesseract. It's this whole thing where the stones are gaining sentience and are taking attributes from the people that were closest to them at the time. So V gains aspects from a character named Vex, and Leighton gains aspects from 2012 Loki. Salem gains aspects from Doctor Strange, and so on and so forth. But, V is like this punk, sort of messy stoner, very, very angry. He can make you explode. He was literally based off of the meme that was, all the other stones give you incredible powers. The Power Stone. Do you want to explode? At least at first. He's developed a bit since then. But, so he's the edgy, sorta, if you cross me, I'm going to rip out your guts, and I can shatter every bone in your body with a flick. Because he's extremely strong. But that's balanced out with his, it's balanced out. And then we have Leighton, who's extremely intelligent, extremely neat freak. He can teleport, because he's the Space Stone. And he is, he's extremely, like, everything needs to be in its place. If it's not in its place, don't you dare touch that V. I'm going to fucking kill you. But, they have a very good dynamic. They start out absolutely hating each other, and this is one of my favorite tropes. It's the same thing that happened with, Tazen and Krona when they got together, was they started out hating each other and eventually developed feelings for one another. It goes along the same lines of, this is turning into a shipping thing, which I'm fine with. It has to do with roleplay. But, it's along the same lines of the whole trope of unintentional love, which is what I headcanon Frostmaster to be. It's, they were just originally in a business relationship, and through that they developed their romantic relationship unintentionally. But also one of my favorites is, where they start off absolutely loathing each other and end up loving each other. Which is what happened with Leighton and V. But their dynamic aside, that made sense. And yes, of course, to some people it may seem rushed if I were to ever share the roleplay. Which, of course, I would only do with the other person's consent. But, it may seem rushed because there were time skips. There were things we developed in their relationship and their dynamic outside of text and, like, in person. And a lot of people may not agree with the fact that they're together. But, to me, I love it, and the other person's okay with it. And that's another thing. You can't just go in a roleplay and immediately assume, oh, this character is going to be with your character, and they're going to love each other if the other person involved or other people involved haven't okayed it. Like, I can't think of any examples where that's happened to me, per se, because usually I'm all for shipping as long as it makes sense. Like, another one I did was with SL Chaos, or Second Leaf Chaos, and an OC of someone's named Kayla? Around that, who was a, like, portal master. I may have a thing for shipping light with dark. It's opposites attract, you know? But, so, with that one, I loved the roleplay we were doing. And, like, I've been meaning to contact her again, because I kind of miss it, but also it was in a rut, and I seem to be the only one creating plot points. That's another thing I will touch on, or only one person's creating plot points. But, in that one, the relationship between them was a little bit forced. And I will admit that. I went with it, because at the time I was like, it's fine, I may not be happy with this, but the other person's happy, so I can deal with it. And over time, it made more sense. But in the beginning, it was like, because the whole first arc was that Kayla got taken from her timeline and plopped down in the Second Leaf timeline. And then people were disappearing, and everyone thought corruption had done it, but it wasn't corruption. Then we ended up having to go to a different timeline where we met Nightwalker, and freaking hell, I loved that roleplay. Nightwalker is so fun to play. I love him. That's aside, but Nightwalker is another version of Chaos from the Colorblind timeline, which is a timeline where rather than the ancients beating the darkness beat the ancients and took over, and so the bloodline that Chaos is from, or Nightwalker is from, has been in power ever since. And that ship between SL Chaos and Kayla was, in my opinion, a little forced, because it was going directly from Chaos losing Shoria, who he had been originally shipped with, in that roleplay, and then just immediately he was in a relationship with Kayla. There wasn't really any time to mourn, there wasn't Kayla attempting to comfort him, there wasn't that natural bonding. I mean, there was bonding over the fact that Chaos didn't know how to deal with the fact that he was, for lack of better terms, mudblood, light and dark, together. But she was a really nice person. I need to get back in touch with her. Same with, I keep wanting to call them Avery, but I don't know if that's their new name or not. But, them, the person who originally played Shoria. And K9 Diamond. I need to get back in touch with all of them. But, on to my next story, which will divulge into another point I want to make. When I first joined the Skylanders Amino, which is a story in all itself, which I love and I need to be more active on there, but there was this person whose profile was Cassandra, Chaos Sandra, Chaos's mother, and they wanted to roleplay with me. And mostly I do semi-literate roleplay. I actually have a lot of stories about roleplay on the Skylanders Amino, because, oh boy. I realize Skylanders is a kid's thing, but some of those children, I swear, were just there to fuck everything up. Like, but I digress. That roleplay was... I started out enjoying it. And it just kind of divulged into, please don't message me anymore. It was like, well, actually, there were many things that kinda tick me off when it comes to role-playing in that one roleplay. I'd said I wanted it to be semi-literate, and I don't know if they didn't know what that meant, or that I hadn't explained it well enough, but, oh boy, it wasn't. Which, again, nothing against people that, or like, if their first language isn't English, or they don't have a good grasp on it, like, learn at your own pace, dude. I just personally like to roleplay semi-literate to literate. Like, I can understand the whole using asterisks and text bubbles like that, like the whole chaos, colon, asterisk, insert action here, asterisk, talking. rather than the whole, not brackets, but not comma, but the whole quotation, talking, end quotation, action method, which is the one I personally like to use, but I also like to use the other one in, like, more chill role plays, or role plays that are just kind of, like, there for no good reason. Like, I forget her name. I'm gonna call her Cookie. But, we did a lot of those on the Skylanders Amino. It was just kind of like the whole, not really semi-lit, but semi-lit, script method. It's like a script where you have the actions in asterisks or in italics, and then you have the talking outside of that, and then it's labeled by character, rather than the book or novel method, which I usually use. I'm getting way off topic, but, so, as far as I remember, the person, Cassandra, was using the asterisks, which I'm perfectly fine with, even though I was using the, quotation method, which, that's the same thing for, the other roleplay I'm currently in, with Leighton and V and Vex and Void, and there's a lot of V names, it's a whole thing. But, my friend uses the asterisk method more often than not, and then I use the quotation method because that's what I'm comfortable with, and they are semi-lit enough that I can understand what they're saying. Like, they're actually really good at this. Like, ain't dissing your friend. I would never. Love the way you roleplay. It was just, in that one case, I could barely understand a thing they were saying, for one. For two, the dynamic and, like, the whole, like, everything about it seemed kind of forced and not natural, and I tried my best to play along with it for as long as I could, but it just didn't seem right. They were kind of shooting down all of my ideas of plot points, which is another thing I dislike, is when there's only one person contributing plot points, or when you're trying to figure out plot points and everything just gets shot down. Like, of course, you're going to have a discussion and some are going to get rejected or saved away for later or for a different roleplay, different timeline stuff, but, it was just kind of like, oh, I was thinking we could do this. No. Well, how about this? No. Well, do you have any ideas? No. Okay. And, it was also, another thing I dislike is when, and I've been guilty of this in the past, but I've been getting better, where it's like, you need to take a break from the roleplay, and so you say that, but then the person continues messaging you. And, like, I've done that in the past, and I feel extremely horrible about it, because it's just kind of like, I was an ass. Like, during my SL times, I was a bit of an ass. I was always naive. I don't want to call myself an ass, even though I just did, because I was a kid, like. But, I had asked for semi-lit, and they didn't seem to know what that means, so I tried explaining it, and they didn't seem to understand or want to. I could barely understand a thing they said. All my ideas were shot down, and they didn't offer any of their own. Like, I'm fine with people shooting down my ideas as long as they're able to offer counterpoints or other concepts that can happen instead, or, like, actually add something to the table, rather than rehashing the same old, oh, Strycor's coming out of the book. Oh no! Time to seal him away. Oh, Cassandra's getting weak. We better heal her. Oh, Strycor's coming out of the book. Over and over and over again. And then when I asked for a break, or like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, they would message me like every hour, every day, with just, hey, hello, hey. And that's, in some instances, single line, or single Like, single sentence responses are okay as long as they offer something for me to work off of. Or, like, in general, offer something for the other participant to work off of. If you're just gonna say, like, Cassandra coughed, or Glumshanks sat down, well, even those can offer something, but this person was... I found no substance in what they were writing, which made me not want to continue to roleplay. And at this point, I actually have them blocked on Amino because they just continuously messaged me over and over and over again. It was getting to the point where they would contact some of my other friends on the Amino to try to get my attention because I wasn't responding to them. And, like, I had given them notice. I wasn't ghosting them. I had said, like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Can we take a break? And they were like, okay. But I guess a break to them meant 15 minutes. And, like, at that time, I had considered just making it a break. Like, what am I doing? I was recording that? Oh, fun. I had just, ooh. I was considering taking a break, like, coming back to it and seeing if that gave me any new ideas, anything to work with, but, and of course, I've been responsible for doing some of that stuff in the past, like shooting down ideas and kind of stopping the flow of role play. But I've been getting better at that. Like, that was one of the things that ended up stopping my Skylanders, Pokemon roleplay, the same person that played Shoria, was me not being able to keep up the pace. And it had also gotten into a bit of a lull when after Catoptrix died, and then came back because can't have people staying dead because he's my baby and I love him. And talking about my good experiences in roleplay is a completely other video in on itself, and I would love to make that. But right now, we are talking about pet peeves. So, constantly messaging, not letting people take a break when they want to, not offering any substance to the roleplay, whether it be plot-wise or text-wise or anything like that. Always shooting down the other person's ideas if you're not offering anything. Like, if the other person's attempting to get the roleplay going again, and you're just like, I don't want to do that. Like, I understand burnout is a thing, and that happened with me with role-playing for a long time before I met my new friend, and I kind of got back into it. Love you. But, like, at least say that then. You have to be open with your roleplay partner when it comes to that. You can't just be like, I don't want to do that, or no. Or, like, offer reasons, please, or, like, why you think that wouldn't work, or why you don't want to. Like, say if you don't want to continue that you don't want to continue. Don't just ghost them, basically. Like, I thought of another point, but now I can't. Now I don't know what I'm doing. But, like, oh boy. Gotta love when you're attempting to think of things and your brain has ceased to work. Like, I was on a roll there for a moment. Another thing. No, I've already kind of covered that. It's the whole... What am I... Oh, God. No, not Chinkanunget. Stop. I realized I was on a call with my friend at this time when I was drawing it, but, you were graced with Chinkanunget. Another thing that bugs me in roleplay would have to be, like, I don't want to say one-note characters, but kind of like one-note characters. which of course we're all going to create those characters at some point and another, and sometimes roleplay helps to flesh them out, but it's just those moments where a character refuses to grow or is unchanged by the narrative in the slightest. Like, I've had it happen to me a few times, but, when a character is like, all hell's breaking loose, but the, I guess, main character of the roleplay, because from my roleplays, they usually center around a single character. It switches from character to character, but there's always, like, a character that it centers on. Like, sometimes it's, I'll just go with Skylanders as an example again. Sometimes it's Chaos. Other times it's Glumshanks or Spyro or stuff like that. But it always, like, focuses on a single character, like, from their perspective. Usually, again, for me, it's third person perspective, but, like, from the perspective of the character. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, I was having so much trouble with this expression. Side views, for some reason, have just been really difficult for me. But, yeah, I just gave up. When a character only hits, like, a single note, it's kind of annoying. Like, and I can understand characters being reserved or emotionless or things like that. Like, Krona, as another example, barely registers any emotion because he doesn't know how to process it. Another good example of that done well would be Shade from Second Leaf, which is played by Luca. Hi, Luca, if you're watching this. Lucas? Lucarian. I need to remember your name. Hi, if you're watching this. But, Shade was a very good character in the respect that he was reserved, but it was for a good reason, because he was one of the experiments created by Chaos and the Darkness during, I believe Lucas said it was, during the time period of woo-woo woo-woo vroom vroom game. Superchargers. Why did I want to call it Swap Force? No. That he was created through time. Swap Force, but he was one of the only experiments that gained sentience, like actual sentience, and being able to feel emotions. And so he rebelled and joined the Skylanders, if I remember it correctly. But, he had reason to be reserved and fearful, and not register out for an emotion. But a character that, like, it has to make sense for the character. If your character is labeled as a cheery, bubbly individual, like, say, Scrape, if Scrape were to suddenly stop responding to situations like a normal person, people, that would raise red flags, like, is Scrape possessed? Did something happen? But usually, like, in the bad role plays, there's no actual reason as to why. Like, sometimes the character will be described as soft, bubbly, and adorable, but then when it comes to role-playing, either the person doesn't know how to role-play soft, bubbly, and adorable, or they just don't put in enough effort to role-play soft, bubbly, and adorable, and so it comes off as flat and one-noted. My throat is a throat. But, chicken tendies. I'm recording. Okay. May I have a little bit more time? Thank you. Chicken tendies. Close the door on your way out, please. Love you. I was bombarded by individual humans. How dare they? But, I'm gonna have to cut this a little short. I might come back with a, I still have a little bit more time, but I might come back and do a, follow-up to this of, like, my good roleplay experiences, or, like, things that I find that happen in roleplay that aren't necessarily good or bad, they just kind of happen. An example of one of those would be, like, sometimes when I'm LARPing, I'll get so invested in a character that when I look in the mirror, if I'm not cosplaying them, or like, I'm not them, so I'll look in the mirror and kind of be caught off guard, as it's like, oh boy, that's not the character, what's happening? Oh yeah, I am a human being. I have issues, but yeah. I was talking about something. One note characters. I think I finished on that. I have other roleplay pet peeves, but I just can't think of them right now. Also, shout out to the first person I saw do something like this was Zodiac Lord. Absolutely love him. I actually got a commission of my Lust Demon Tazen and his Lust character from Seven Sins of Baby, which is an adorable comic, and I hope he continues it eventually. But like, of course, no pressure, dude. If you're not watching this, you don't know I exist. I mean, maybe, I don't know. He's a cool dude. Love him. Like, platonically, of course, but yeah, he was the first one I saw do something like this, and I agreed with a lot of the points he made, but now I can't remember them, and of course I don't want to just like rehash everything he did and claim it as my own, but also like I had stuff to add to those points and experiences of my own that I might have wanted to add, but now I can't remember them really. That's okay though. But yeah. While I'm rambling on, I can try to find the finished image of what's being drawn just to show you guys. It'd be easier if I actually looked. Oh, that's supposed to be here. Not authorized. But yeah, this has been a part of my roleplay pet peeves. I hope you enjoyed. This is the final drawing I did. I love my baby. He's an amazing baby. But yeah. Thank you, Single Fruit Loop, for watching this. This has been Scrape, rambling on about absolutely nothing for about 50 minutes now, give or take. Hope you enjoyed. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You get nothing, but I will give you an internet hug if you wish. If you have any other things to add or debate or like pet peeves of your own that you want to comment down below, feel free to do so. I would love to read them, and you may get featured as the comment of next day's video. Next topic video. Probably not gaming videos, because those I usually just pre-record when I have nothing better to do. But yeah. This has been my ass signing out. Bye.